Week one of the 2025 NFL season more than delivered. We saw an all-timer between Josh Allen's Bills and Lamar Jackson's Ravens, which felt like a Super Bowl matchup. We saw Justin Fields and the New York Jets offense look actually pretty decent. We saw the Dolphins implode, a defensive showdown between the Texans and the Rams, and so much more. To cut through the noise, me and my co-host Nick Corbs are going to be giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly of week one. Nick, a wild week one. You ready to get into it?
I cannot wait, Dom. It's so good. Christmas has come early. Week one in the books. I can't wait to talk about it.
So let's start then with the good. And we have to obviously start this inaugural week one episode with the Bills versus the Ravens. It was, in my opinion, an immediate all-timer, a classic. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson at the height of their powers. This is something that, you know, we'll set our grandkids down there and show them one day that this is how these played football back in my day. They were dueling it out on prime time last season at Highmark Stadium, the Bills' home stadium, under the lights, 81 total points. It was something to behold.
Absolute cinema. It was one of the best football games I've seen in years. Great comeback. A 41-year-old signed off the couch to nail the game-winning field goal. It's everything you want in a game of football. And I think that's my first good, Dom. It's not just that game, but it's week one on the whole. So good to have football back, and what an amazing slate of games we had, capped off by one of the best games I've seen since maybe Rams versus Chiefs in the old Coliseum before SoFi Stadium was even built. Maybe was that 5 years ago now? Maybe I'm not sure. But it was definitely
Gotham Mahomes.
Gotham Mahomes, of course, yeah.
Dealing in those yellow Rams jerseys. It was. I mean, I want to talk about the Ravens offense for a bit, because I think that had the game ended in literally any other way, and probably how it should have ended, I would argue, in terms of the game management, with a Ravens win, the Ravens offense looked absolutely unstoppable. Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 169 yards, almost 10 yards per carry. He had 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, he was electric as per. 7 receptions, 147 yards and a touchdown. Offensive line looked dominant. I thought the play calling from Todd Monken was crazy. He was in his absolute bag all game long. There's just, as has always been the case in recent years with the Ravens, there's just so much to think about when you play them. If it's not Derrick Henry in a fullback, it is Zay Flowers, it is DeAndre Hopkins on a one-handed catch down the sidelines now. That's a new wrinkle to the offense. If you can actually get some decent level of play out of him for even just this season, it's going to be all right. I think, though, that what did you think about the decision to punt it away back to the Bills?
It felt very un-Ravens, Dom. I feel like the Ravens always do those 4th and 2, 4th and 3s, those risky bailout moves with Lamar. I remember seeing a couple seasons ago when it was the 4th and 1 and they chucked a deep ball. This is a team that's not afraid to shy away from those big game-changing plays. And to punt it away, Dom, seemed very un-Ravens, and ultimately, it's a play that we'd not be talking about if the Ravens won this game. But obviously, with the Bills' comeback, it proved almost pivotal in the end.
I agree. It is very un-Ravens. Like, you know, there's that classic exchange between Lamar and Harbaugh where Harbaugh's like, what do you want to do? And Lamar's like, go for it. And that was really early on in his career. He might have even been a rookie or at least a second-year player at that point. But there's a stat from Ben Solak, which was the Ravens have now lost 8 games since the 2021 season, in which at one point they had a win probability of at least 90%. That, and the next team closest to them has 5. Exactly, 3 less. That does kind of suggest that a little bit of maybe a coaching problem. I do think there's some merit to the argument that, you know, has Harbaugh taken the Ravens kind of as far as he can? They always, a little bit like Sean McDermott and the Bills, ironically, they always get to the playoffs. Yes, they look brilliant in the regular season, but they can't quite kind of put it together in the big games, in the big moments. Obviously, this is week one, a lot of football still to be played. But I think with those stats and looking at this game, with the Ravens electing to not go for it on 4th and 3 when they've put up 40 points on the Bills' defense, and they have Lamar Jackson playing like a man on fire. They have Zay Flowers near 150 yards. They have Derrick Henry literally like a hot knife through butter. For me, the decision to not go for it there was dare I say, if we're kind of previewing what we've got coming up, ugly almost.
Ooh, I wouldn't go that far, because I do think that, like, if they won the game, that wouldn't even be a topic of conversation.
Yes.
And you know it happens when the Lions go for it and and instead of punting and they lose the game. It happened once or twice last season, and you know it's down if you do, down if you don't. It's a bit like a Joe Root reverse scoop.
Very niche, very niche, but yes,
For our
also
English
true.
listeners.
It's like reverse handball.
Yes, yeah, I like.
But I think ultimately, though, I think the Ravens are definitely a good here, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's not. This is not warning signs for the Ravens. It's only positive, and it's week one. A loss isn't going to damage their playoff hopes or one seed hopes. Yeah, no.
Hey, look, the Bengals would like a word about you. Well, word with you about that one, considering they lost the Patriots in week one, and that cost them the playoffs. But yeah, I agree. I think again, it's week one. The Ravens' offense looked brilliant. The defense. Obviously, they got 38, well, initially 38 points hung up on them, and then the field goal at the end to make it 41 points hung up on them by Josh Allen. But, like, that's also what I've got as one of the goods here is that, you know, Josh Allen's heroics, basically, it was, he is, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the league at being a one-man army. I think Lamar Jackson is the most electric dual threat quarterback there ever has been. I think Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT with Tom Brady. I think that Josh Allen can, unlike those two, just put the entire team on his back, whether that's with his legs or with his arm, and just kind of like will his team across the finish line. And we saw that from him, obviously, yesterday. Like he put up like 25 points in like the fourth quarter alone, Josh Allen. It's like ridiculous like that. So his heroics was absolutely one of the goods for me. No quarterback in the league is better at him than being a one-man army. And when you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you're always going to be competitive.
Completely. He is electric. He is the face of the league. And I think yesterday proved that. You know, even though Mahomes is obviously up there with the top three of all time, Josh Allen right now, he's him. There's no one quite like him. He's doing it all himself. He made Keon Coleman look like a top 5 receiver.
He had 100 yards.
I know. He had a very good game, I must admit, but he's not thrown to the best cast out there like a Burrow is, or I guess Lamar isn't either, or is Mahomes, but I think they're all got lackluster receiving calls. But he's really willing that team to go above and beyond what that offense I really think is capable of.
I agree. I think both Ravens and Bills are firmly in the good, despite the outcome. It was a fantastic game. Did you had a wider point though, Nu?
My wider point was more just I just love football and it's back and it's so good that we get to see this every single Sunday from 1 p.m. all the way till late at night. It just makes every week better, Dom. And the good is just the thing that we love being back.
It is electric. I've got another good though, and that is that I think the Packers are Super Bowl contenders. I think the Micah Parsons edition is unbelievable. I think it has made the team just noticeably better on the field with the eye test, but also if you look at the stats, it's made them better. He had an immediate impact once he stepped foot on the field. He got a pressure against Jared Goff on Penei Sewell in the first snap of the game. It literally comes on, first snap, pressure against Goff. His time to throw, Jared Goff's time to throw when Parsons wasn't on the field was 3.36 seconds, which I'll talk a bit about in the bad section actually when it comes on to that. His time to throw when Parsons was on the field, 2.8 seconds. He has to get the ball out quick because Parsons is going to split him in half if he holds on to the ball for 3 seconds. And when he was on the field, the Lions were held to 2.4 yards per play. Just elite. We knew he was elite as a pass rusher. I think he's weirdly been kind of questioned as a run defender. I think he's a fantastic run defender. I think he is basically the best pass rusher in the league because Myles Garrett is just inherently that role, and it's almost done. It's like the Aaron Donald situation with Myles Garrett at this point, right? Like he is just so dominant. He had like 3 sacks in a single drive against the Bengals. He's a different gravy, but you take him out of it, I think it is Micah Parsons for me. He just looked so damn good on a team where he only just joined them, like 2 weeks ago, doesn't quite yet know the defensive play calls and all that stuff, which is why he wasn't on the field the whole time, also kind of carrying an injury, I believe, so there's a few things going on there, but when he's fully healthy, he's in the zone, he knows the defense knows him. The Packers are going to really be a team to watch out for.
I completely agree. We were talking in the offseason and even for the last season or two, how the Packers need an X factor. They're a team greater than some of their parts. Even on offense, I really rate Jordan Love. I'm sure you do too, Don. But he is not in the same tier as a Burrow or a Mahomes or an Allen. I think he's just the tier below that. But there's a big difference between those two. And I think Green Bay were a great team with a really good coach, but we're just missing that star player, that difference maker. And Micah Parsons is that difference maker. Even with a bit of ring rust, he hasn't really he's had a half camp, basically hasn't been training with the team all off season to go get a sack, get those pressures, make an instant impact after only being on the team for a week or so. I really agree with you, Dom. I think the Packers are a team to watch out for in the NFC.
Yeah, and talking about Jordan Love, actually, he had that obviously 2003 season where he looked brilliant, like a top 7 quarterback, him and CJ Stroud. And then 2024 was a little bit kind of iffy. He was making some kind of questionable decisions, has that kind of Jameis streak to him, I believe. He was cooking yesterday as well. Oh my God, the throw to Tucker Kraft up the seam was exquisite. He is playing like 2023 Jordan Love and not like 2024 Jordan Love. And I thought the Packers offensive line looked good. They were stonewalling the Lions pass rush. Matt LaFleur, I think, might be the best play caller in the league offensive wise. I think the Packers are up there now for me with the Ravens in terms, and the Eagles maybe. If you take, I don't love their offensive play. I don't love the offensive game plan from them, though. They're not on the ugly or the bad, but a few more of them they might be. But I think they are up there now, the Packers, with the best teams in the league for just being so complete. Like you say, we've been saying all offseason around not having a dude on offense or defense. Sure, I think, Golden, I don't think he can be a dude. I think, someone like Ted McMillan looked like a dude for the Panthers. But if you just have Parsons on defense, I'd take that over a rookie wide receiver any day of the week for a team that is looking to actually compete now. So I think the Packers are the real deal this year, and we'll be keeping track of that. Do you have any more goods before we move on to the bads, Nu?
My last good, Dom, is just a small one. It's a strong AFC East, which I think is so good for the NFL. AFC West, sorry. A bit of a Freudian slip there. So I'm saying the fact that the fact that the Chiefs lost, Chargers won, Raiders won, Broncos won. Finally, I think we can see an end to the boring AFC Chiefs supremacy. I'm not saying after 1 week that the Chiefs are done and they should get rid of Andy Reid and that Mahomes is a fraud. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that they're not just going to go 15-2 and just walk into the playoffs and walk into the 1 seed and walk into the AFC Championship game like they've done every year for the recent history. God, I'm messing up my words. Sorry, like they have done recently.
recent years. No, I agree with you. I think it definitely is a much more fun league when, like, the Raiders are good. The Broncos, although they didn't look that good, they still came away with the win. The Chargers are looking really good as well. So I agree with you. I also want to shout out the Colts being competitive with Daniel Jones as well before we move on. I think that, again, an agenda of mine. Last year, I was right about Sam Darnold. This year, it seems I'm going to be right about Daniel Jones. A bit of a career resurgence. They just need someone to keep the offense on time. They scored on every single drive. They did make some ridiculous stat kind of saying that, like, if you, with loads of different qualifiers, like if you have like 24 plus rushing yards and throw for 250 plus yards, almost malarkey that the only other person that's ever done that is Daniel Jones in 2021. But this is what the offense needed. It needed someone that could just keep the offense on time, let the talent shine. Tyler Warren, he was fantastic in this game, the rookie tight end from Penn State. The Colts, man, there's a lot to look forward to. Unfortunately for me as a Texans fan, but we'll talk about the Texans very shortly. On to the bad, Neil. What do you got for the bad?
So the first bad is sort of something I was just talking about earlier. I'm going to talk about the Detroit Lions. And they are really missing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, their old offensive and defensive coordinators. They look like a team that's lost at sea. They've really lost their vision. And no one's saying that the Lions were going to have good play calling this year. But I was not expecting the regression to be that bad. They were going up against a very good Packers team, admittedly. But I think there's real cause for concerns for the Lions. For a team that has been the most exciting, the most followed, the feel-good story, I think it's going to be a bit of an afterthought for this season.
I'm concerned about the Lions as well. They had 46 rushing yards. They were 5 for 15 on third down. Goff's time to throw was almost 3 seconds on average. Obviously, with Parsons on and off the field, it kind of comes out to 3 seconds. When he was with Ben Johnson, it was in that 2.5, 2.6 second range. Like, Goff is at his best when he's being a game manager, that kind of field general, spreading it across the offense, throwing it to Ross and Brown when he's immediately open, hitting Jameson Williams when he's open down the field with his speed. It was not looking like the Lions' offense of old. There's obviously maybe an element here of confirming priors, right? Like we've said all offseason that we're kind of concerned about the Lions. And again, it's only one game. Not to say that they're sunk and that it's basically time to start looking at draft prospects. But there really was, when we're looking at the eye test and we're looking at how they played on the field, there was no creativity, there was no spark. They got totally outplayed on defense as well. The Packers were marching up the field at will. Aiden Hutchinson was being dropped back into coverage in 2 snaps, which I find bizarre. Why are you dropping your best pass rusher back into coverage? But he didn't look that great either. He only had 2 pressures. He was kind of shut out by the Packers offensive line. I think that, yes, there's a lot of football still to play, but when you look at how good the Jets looked with Tanner Engstrand, who was kind of seen as like the heir apparent to Ben Johnson in the next kind of line of offensive coordinators in Detroit, and then he kind of ended up switching and going to New York, you are kind of left wondering, like, has that impact the team as much as people like us have feared? After 1 week, I would say yes, but obviously it's a very small sample size and there's a lot of football still to be played. But man, the Lions, on both sides of the ball, really did not look good.
I completely agree, Dom.
And what else I've got? I had the Lions as a team, and I've got for bad the Bills' interior defensive line. I think that, yes, they ultimately won the game, which is kind of going to detract people away from talking about this as much as they should. And Ed Oliver had a nice game, had some big plays. He's a good player. But they do not have a 2-gap, big boy, anchor, run stuffer on the middle of that interior of the defensive line. And someone that can just sit there and absorb blocks and hold fast against the run. And it was a problem last year for the Bills, which is why I thought they were going to run into some problems against the Broncos, who in the playoffs, who they matched up against in the wild card round, who I thought would really kind of run them into the ground. But because of how that game script went with Josh Allen immediately scoring and then being multiple scores down, they couldn't really go to the run as much as they wanted to. But it's been a problem all off-season. It was a problem last season, and they just didn't address it in any way. It wasn't addressed in the draft. It wasn't addressed in free agency. And I am concerned that, we saw the Ravens come into Highmark Stadium, the Bills' home stadium, and literally run them over. Derrick Henry had, 180, 170 yards, as I just said. Like, that's not good. Yes, they came away with the win. I came away with the win, but that was because of Josh Allen heroics and a healthy dose of luck, right? Derrick Henry fumble, an interception that got called back as well for Josh Allen in the fourth quarter. You can't rely on that. You need to play less high variance football and just kind of be a consistent football team. And when the Bills can't stop the run, it gives me pause for concern.
I think you're being a Debbie Downer here, Dom. I think you're thinking about postseason December football where the interior run game is what wins and loses you games. We're in week 1 and they just put up 41 points. I would not be... obviously, it's a consistent issue and a very valid issue that you're pointing out. But I think we should be celebrating the Bills for what they're doing with the lack of talent they have. Because I think that interior defensive line, I think you're right, is very weak. I don't think Ed Oliver... I think he's a much better pass rusher than he is as a run-stuffing defensive tackle. But do you not think that they could maybe, do one of these mid-season deadline trades where they just trade a 6th for some sort of big run-stuffing, not very high, big-name defensive tackle that could fix that?
Yeah, no, I think they will. I think they have to. And that's why this isn't in the ugly. This is just in the bad. The ugly is where we save the really, really bad stuff. This is just like, that's a bit concerning. The Lions are here. But let's, it's only week 1. Let's not overreact. But that's one of my bad. What else do you have in the bad, Nick?
So my bad... this was bordering on ugly, but I just kept it in the bad, was the Tennessee Titans receivers. And I think they really ruined a very good quarterback debut for Cam Ward. So Cam Ward, I think, is one of the least hyped first overall picks, especially as an offensive player, in years. When you talk about Jackson Dart getting more media coverage, Shedeur Sanders getting more media coverage, Dylan Gabriel has gotten more media coverage than the number 1 overall pick, who's one of the most exciting quarterback prospects we've seen in a while as well. And I thought we saw that. His stats are pretty underwhelming. He had about 50% completion percentage with only about 150 yards. But when you watch the film, his receivers let him down. 2 horrific drops from Calvin Ridley, where it could have been almost a legacy drive in your debut, stamping your mark on the NFL. And he got let down. Yeah, and he got let down by players who should be helping him, these vets that should be lifting him up. And I'm worried for Cam Ward slightly because I think his talent is there, but he's on a badly coached team, on a badly run front office. So again, it's week 1. It's just cause for concern, but it's definitely in the bad for me.
Yeah, they had 5 drives. The Titans had 5 drives in Broncos territory, and they came away with collectively 6 points. And I think Cam Ward showed some fantastic flashes. You saw the poise, his playmaking ability. He looked really, really damn good. I agree with you. The box score won't tell you the full story there at all. You've got to go and watch the tape, watch the game, because he was throwing some dimes. Calvin Ridley dropping passes, Kamira Dyke dropping passes. It was not good. I mean, even something as simple as a screen pass, 3 receivers blocked, and there was no one to catch the ball, and Cam Ward just threw it into the ground. Like, they are a badly coached football team, I would say, and I don't think that Brian Callahan is going to be the coach of this team by the end of the year if it keeps going like this. I think that already he's in the hot seat. I'm not moved by him at all. I think that actually Will Levis got a lot of stick, but let's not forget that the regression that he saw from, what was it, Mike Vrabel to then Bill Callahan was unbelievable. Like, Will Levis was a look, he was a high variance, quite fun quarterback. He was not the meme that he became. And that was, I think, concerning. And I was kind of saying at the time, like, it is weird how bad Levis has gotten. And I think Callahan's got some blood in his hands there. And I think that we do not want to see that happen to Cam Ward, who did look really good, was making some really nice throws. And then ultimately, when he kept being sold by his wide receivers, yeah, he kind of blew up as well, ultimately. And it's, an unfair criticism when he's playing the best defense in the league away in Denver. So it was a hard mission for him. And I think the Broncos and Bo Nix and Sean Payton got off really, really, really damn lucky that there wasn't a semi-competent coach on the opposite sideline, because I think they would have lost that game otherwise. But I think there's a lot of reasons to be positive about Cam Ward. He would almost be in one of my goods, actually. But yeah, the rest of the Titans' offense, I agree with you. The pass catchers specifically and the head coach for me, man, they did not look good at all. Another person that I'm concerned about as a quarterback, and this does pain me to admit it, it is Bryce Young. I think that offense, the Panthers' offense, really did not look good against who were they playing against?
Jags.
The Jags of all that. A fine defense, maybe like a mid at best defense. Bryce Young made some nice throws. I think Ted McMillan looks like the real deal. He should be a guy that's getting double-digit targets every single game. He looks as advertised. He looks really good. He made a fantastic catch that got called back. Like, strong hands, good separator, really consistent. I think he's really, really good. But yeah, Bryce Young was not looking good. I think you can put some of the blame on the other pass catchers' shoulders. I think that Xavier Legette is looking like a bust at this point. I'm seeing too many warning signs for me from Xavier Legette. Like, he just can't get his feet down in bounds when it was a really easy catch. Other receivers are kind of dropping balls as well. Renfro probably could have made a catch, but I think it wasn't a great ball from Bryce Young, if I'm being honest with myself. It's not as bad as it started last year with Bryce Young, but it's nowhere near as good as how he ended the season. And he needs to find that form quick, because if he plays like this for 9 games, that's it for him. I think he needs to quickly turn it around and find the form he was in at the back end of last season. And Dave Canales needs to pull his socks up as well, because, as I said, it's kind of the last chance saloon in Carolina right now, it feels like, for what is, I believe, a capable team, but they're not showing that.
This time last season, when Bryce Young got benched for Andy Dalton, but not this time last season, but when Bryce Young was still having the same problems, he came back, and you're right, he really brought that spark back. But I never thought that he looked more than an average quarterback. He looks like these.
He looked good, man.
I think he looks okay. I think he needs a change of scenery, almost a bit like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was a bit hot and cold for Cleveland. Went to Carolina, was terrible at Carolina, and then has had an amazing career resurgence in Tampa Bay. And I could see a similar thing happening with Bryce Young. He just needs to get out of there. And I think it's bad for the whole regime. He's been tainted with that massive draft capital that they spent on him, which, was he ever worth it in the first place? Definitely doesn't seem it now. But yeah, Dom, also, the Panthers and Jags, just as a game that plays twice a year, that is a London game. That is an old-fashioned Wembley game. They'd always
play twice
over.
A year, you goober.
Oh, sorry, they don't. It's AFC and NFC.
One's in the AFC South, one's in the NFC South.
Well, it feels like they play every week.
Diabolical ball knowledge, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's slipped from
ball
me.
knowledge. No, fix up, look sharp. What about ugly then, New? What do you got for us?
So my first ugly, I have the New York Giants, and I think it's ugly on 2 levels. First of all, not scoring a touchdown. Second of all, Daniel Jones looking like the second coming of Peyton Manning. Brian Daboll was billed as this quarterback whisperer. He won Coach of the Year, with Daniel Jones winning a playoff game and looking quite good in that playoff game. Since then, we've all know what's happened with the Giants. Letting Saquon walk, re-signing Daniel Jones, Offensive Player of the Year, and now Daniel Jones with a Week 1 MVP candidates. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is always going to play at this level. I think it's going to be a purple patch, a bit like the Saints last season. But even so, when your head coach is supposed to be an offensive guru and a quarterback whisperer, and everything he touches gets better after he leaves, That is really ugly, and especially for the Colts, man. That is
Yeah, the
not what you want if
Colts.
as a head
The
coach.
Colts. But when do you think then? Because I agree with you. I think the Giants' performance was really not very good. But I don't know really what. I think the Giants, because of the offseason they had, went in with way too much hype. Like you say it with Jackson Dart. Like they had so many eyes on them because of Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter, defensive line looking great. Everyone kind of got like fooled into thinking that this is going to be different. When really the like John Michael Schmitz at center looks terrible. I think Russ is annoyingly. I think Russ has some good football left in him, but he keeps trying to play like he's 25 years old. Russ, mate, you're 30. He's like 38, I think. Like, he does not have the mobility anymore. He's trying to create in the pocket, extend the play, roll out. Throw the ball, Russ. Throw the ball. Like, when you've got Malik Neighbors and you've got Wandale Robinson, you can kind of make some things happen. But I agree. I think the Giants are still quite a long way away from really being where they need to be offensively. And so much so that Dable has not been clear who's going to be the starter in week 2. He's not ruled out Jackson Dart. I think that would be. I think if Dable puts Jackson Dart in as starter before, let's say, week 6, I think he's going to speed run his own firing because he's your elephant man. He's what you can say when everything's not going right and go, but hang on. What about Jackson? We've not tried Jackson yet. If you put him in too early, you've got nothing up your sleeve anymore. You have no cards left to play. So I think if Dable starts him before, like week 6, I think he's going to be gone by the bye, basically.
Yeah, I completely agree, Dom. It's like, was it the French Revolution when the prisoners would try to get to the guillotine first? That's Brian Dable. He doesn't want a slow exit out of New York. He's going to be out of there quickly. And yeah, it won't be past week 8 because either Jackson Dart's going to be starting and look bad, or he's not going to put him in yet and then get fired. He's in a lose-lose unless the Giants turn it around ASAP.
Yeah, and God knows how they're going to. My ugly is another team on the I got to get my geography right, on the East Coast.
Yeah, you can't be flaming me after I got it wrong.
Yeah. And that is the Miami Dolphins. This was diabolical performance of the week, pretty comfortably, I would say. 211 total yards of offense. They were very lucky it wasn't a shutout. 33-8. I think it probably should have been a shutout. Tua was making kind of classically Tua terrible decisions with the football, threw an interception to Laiatu Latu, who's a defensive lineman. By the way, that's pretty difficult to do. Tyreek Hill crying on the sidelines. I think the gig is up in Miami, really, with this current regime. I think Tua's got to go. I think Mike McDaniels has got to go. I think that they kind of just blow it up, really. It's kind of crazy because Mike McDaniels, I think, is a good offensive mind. I think he will fall on his feet as like kind of offensive quality control head in San Francisco, and that team's going to get a lot better as a result. Like I would love him as an offensive coordinator, but when you look at him and his whole vibe, and again, as I've kind of got through my time watching the game and kind of like understanding it better, you kind of come round to, it's like that graph where it goes up and down, it's like run the ball, like never run the ball, no run the ball. Like with this, it's like you do need your head coach to be a bit of like a stronger personality. That really only works when you're winning games. Like imagine you've lost that game and then Mike McDaniels comes in to the locker room to try and rally the troops. Like that's just not going to happen. Like the culture in Miami is really quite terrible. And I just think it's because Mike McDaniels, despite being a great offensive mind, is simply not a good head coach.
You couldn't have said it better, Dom. I completely agree. He's a coordinator. That's what it is at its heart. He's a nerd. He's not a leader of men. And yeah, the Dolphins need to blow it up. And I'm quite worried that they've also missed their cut of their players' trade value. I don't think Tyreek Hill's value is that high at all anymore. Jalen Waddle's fallen off a cliff. The offensive line does not look good at all. The Colts are getting pressured onto all game. Even last year we were talking about him retiring. That team is really devoid of talent and trending in a bad way. They're a sneaky bad team, something that we didn't even talk about when discussing the potential worst teams. But I think they need to blow it up, and it's going to be a long and hard road if they keep on playing how they have.
Well, I think that they could be in contention for the first overall pick with how they look. The Saints looked like they got some fight in them. The Titans looked like they got some fight in them. The only team I think that came away from week 1, we've not yet seen the Bears-Vikings, but the only team that's come away from week 1 that I think showed no fight was the Miami Dolphins. And that is the type of team that will have the first overall pick, is the team that just rolls over and kind of gives up. And I can see Tyreek Hill kind of refusing to play, getting traded at the deadline to the Bills, let's say, or
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, it'll be the Chiefs, right? In kind of classic fashion. But this team, you said about them not being talented. They're starting Storm Duck at cornerback. No team in the NFL is a serious team if they're starting Storm Duck at cornerback. They are a team that is relatively bereft of talent, I think. It's very top heavy, and you're right, those top heavy players have not played well in recent years. They are kind of aging out and are on the decline. And this team is really looking, by definition, ugly. My other ugly is that the Texans' offensive line is as advertised. And I think this probably could be in the bad. I am a Texans fan, so I am having a little bit of a rant here, but I've been worried about this offensive line all offseason. And I said if we're going to struggle against the Rams, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to win, because I think the Rams are a better team. And I'm kind of shocked that so many people picked the Texans to win that game. But it is a problem because CJ Stroud is a pocket passing quarterback. And if he's not protected and doesn't have, let's say, 2.8 seconds, he's going to struggle. He went for 19 of 27 for 188 yards, 1 interception, no big time throws. The Texans were 2 for 9 on third down. And that's kind of what I added on to this, is that Nick Caley, the new offensive coordinator, he wasn't great. Was he bad? No. Is it a really hard game against LA with one of the best defensive lines, one of the better defenses in the league? No, it isn't easy. But he did not help offset the offensive line in any meaningful way for me. And that is a concern as well, because that's kind of why we moved on from Bobby Slowick, is that he didn't make things worse, but I think you've got to try and make things better as a good coordinator. And Nick Caley, in his first outing, man, he did not move me. I think the Texans could be in for a long season.
Do you think CJ Stroud is the problem, Dom? Because I was not super high on him coming out of college, but he had an amazing rookie year and proved me wrong. But ever since then, he doesn't seem like the same person that he showed flashes of being in his first season.
Well, because we didn't have the offensive line, and we don't this year either. He is a pocket passing quarterback. He is not going to be someone that can offset pressure like Josh Allen, like a Cam Ward. Like, he is someone that needs to just have a competent pocket. And it's not even about having a good offensive line. It's not like I think we need to have a top 5 offensive line. We just need to not have a bottom 6 offensive line, really. I think if you just have a middling offensive line, CJ Stroud's going to be good. In his rookie year, our offensive line was just middling. It wasn't one of the better ones. We don't have an Eagles offensive line or a Broncos offensive line or even, like, dare I say, someone like the Bills, I think, have a good offensive line. It really is the case for me with the Texans, that I think CJ Stroud is the real deal. You don't get a rookie season like that through luck. I just think he needs help. I think it's hard when you've got rookie wide receivers that you're kind of still trying to gel with. Nico Collins is obviously still there and still elite, but again, if it's just him and 2 rookies on the field, they need to develop quickly for Nico Collins to kind of have the better matchups and have some attention taken away from him. But like I said, we're lucky that we're in a weaker AFC South. But look, the Colts are looking good. The Jags won. The Titans are looking plucky. I think that could be a classic, like, 9-win team makes the playoffs if we all don't cannibalize each other.
In classic Texans fashion, just sneaking into the playoffs in the let me get this right now, AFC South, which is always
AFC
been annoying.
South. There it is. And what's your last ugly new?
I had the Dolphins and the Giants as my 2 uglies.
Oh yeah, those were the ugly ones. So you had the Dolphins and the Giants. I had the Texans and the Dolphins as well. So that is our roundup of week 1 of the NFL season. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Make sure you subscribe if you've enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment. And this is going back out on the podcast platform. So if this is the first time you're listening, make sure you follow along as well. You do not want to miss an episode. I've been your host, Dom Corbs. That's my co-host, Nick Corbs. We've been Corbs NFL. We'll see you on the next video.